mai kako e nā hoa makamaka mai kalahiki a kalakau, velina nui me ke aloha. Mahalo nui no ke ako ko ana o kako, no ka pono o ka lahui, no ka pono o ka aina, no ka pono o ka vaina hoi he olelo no e ao, e kalele ana I ke koʻikoʻi o ka vai, me keia wā, nani maoli no. Ku kalaulama. Number 1889, many torches stand. There are many lighted bonfires, a signal of joy. Not only for Joy Cruz, our faithful secretary, but the joy that we feel in this time of merriment and turning into the new year. Aloha, everyone, and thank you for coming to today's December 16th, 2024 regular meeting of the Honolulu Board of Water Supply. Before beginning today's meeting, I'd like to state that our board is dedicated to providing safe, dependable, and affordable supply of water now and into the future. At this time, I'd like to share a brief recording with reminders on public participation, as well as virtual meeting regulations for board members as required by law.
Materials for this meeting under HRS Section 92-7.5 are accessible at boardofwatersupply.com/boardmeetings. The public may attend this meeting in person at the BWS Public Service Building, located at 630 South Beretania Street. The public may also view a live stream of today's meeting on our website at boardofwatersupply.com/live. We have been accepting written or oral testimony for today's meeting. Instructions and an online submittal form are available at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. The deadline to submit advanced written testimony has passed. Testimony received by noon today have been distributed to the board members. We will continue to accept written testimony today through our online form. Oral testimony in person or remotely will be accepted during today's meeting. To facilitate as much in-person and remote testimony as reasonably possible during the time allotted, pre-registration and submittal of a written version of testimony at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony is strongly encouraged. To testify in person, please register using our online form or come to the Public Service Building at 630 South Beretania Street. We have a representative in the lobby to provide intake and further instructions. To request to testify remotely, please complete the online form at boardofwatersupply.com/testimony. Requesters will receive an email containing links and instructions to join the Zoom session. Testifiers will have 2 minutes to state their position. A timekeeper will alert testifiers when there is 1 minute remaining. Once the 2 minutes are up, please summarize to allow time for questions from the board. Then, make room for the next testifier. Board members attending any board meeting remotely must be visible to the public to be considered present and meet quorum guidelines. Board members participating remotely must also disclose their location and anyone present at their location during roll call. Meeting participants who are calling or video conferencing in, please mute your microphone when you're not speaking. If you have a question, comment, or wish to enter or second a motion on an action item, please unmute your microphone and identify yourself before continuing to speak. If you encounter technical issues during today's meeting, please use the Zoom chat to send a direct message to our support team. Their names are listed in the message to all participants. To open the chat window, please click on the text bubble icon on the Zoom toolbar.
Let's take a moment to take a roll call of the board members. When I call your name, please say aye, and if attending remotely, make the appropriate disclosures. Joining us virtually, board member Brian Andaya.
Aloha, this is Brian Andaya. I'm in my private office alone.
Aloha, Brian. Thank you. Board member Jean Albano.
Aloha, everyone. I'm also in my private office alone.
Okay. Madam Secretary, anybody else joining us virtually? Okay, thank you. In the room with us today, our board members, Vice Chair Jonathan Kaneshiro.
Here.
Board member Lance Wilhelm.
Here.
And I think our newest board member is coming, but she may be a few minutes late, so we'll give her a minute. Kehalani Pu'u, just sworn in last week.
Yeah.
And Ed Sniffen is excused for today. Also in the room with us today, Manager Ernie Lau.
Aloha.
Aloha, Ernie. Deputy Manager Erwin Kawata. Aloha. Board Secretary Joy Cruz Achu. Manager Secretary Kim Kawai. Information Specialist Wayne Maria. Aloha, Wayne. Joining us by Zoom, Corp Counsel Jeff Lau and Jessica Wong are on the line to keep us on the straight and narrow. We only have one item for our action agenda today, and it is the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting held November 25th, 2024. Do I hear a motion to approve? So moved. It's been moved by Lance.
I shall
And
second.
Thank you, Gene, for the
You're
second.
welcome.
Any discussion? Hearing none. Before I ask for a roll call vote, I just want to go back a second and first and foremost, welcome our newest member, Kehalani Pu'u, who has graciously agreed to donate more of her time to the city. We appreciate you. It's good to see you online, and you just came on, but we wanted to make sure that you are in a secure location and that your camera is on. Can you just tell us aloha and that you're in your office?
Yes, mahalo. Aloha, everyone. I am in my office and I'm alone.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you on Zoom, and mahalo nui again. Roll call vote, please.
Vice Chair Jonathan Kanashiro,
Abstain.
Board Member Brian Adaya,
Aye.
Board Member Lance Wallen,
Aye.
Board Member Kehaulani Pu'u,
Well, I'm gonna abstain since I just jumped in.
thank you. Board Member Gina Mano,
Aye.
and Chair Nolan Anthony.
Aye.
Chair motion passes with 4-5 and 2 abstentions.
Thank you so much. Please note for the record. Okay, moving on, items for information, update on the Board of Water Supply's response to the potential impacts of the Red Hill fuel contamination. Chair recognizes Joyce Lynn. Aloha.
Chair and board members, I'm Joyce with the Manager and Chief Engineer's Office, presenting this December 2024 Red Hill update. It's only been 2 weeks into December, but we had quite a bit of an eventful week last week. These are the meetings that we attended, meeting with the Navy and the community members, as well as EPA and DOH. So December 10th, we had the highly anticipated swarm meeting with the Navy swarm team. And the purpose of this meeting was to allow open discussion between the Navy swarm team and our Board of Water Supplies technical team to go over the low detections of total petroleum hydrocarbons in the Joint Base Pearl Harbor's Hickams drinking water system during the long-term monitoring plan. Unfortunately, because it was it was hosted by the Navy, so a lot of the discussion was controlled. We didn't have as much of an open dialogue as we had hoped. The Navy stood by their conclusion that there are now 9,500 water samples. 8,000 of them was from the long-term monitoring plan, long-term monitoring testing, and then about 1,500 now in the extended drinking water monitoring. They concluded that their sampling are still good and valid. The results are good. And just a little bit more update from the Navy Closure Task Force Red Hill. This press release was published on December 5th. There were mentions that they are planning to reactivate the Navy's IAEA Halawa shaft with the plan to install a granular activated carbon filtration system to preemptively address any potential per and polyfluoroalkyl substances or PFAS. And the press release also mentions that they are going through the tank ventilation as well as preparing to remove pipelines as scheduled. And so this is just a field photo that we got regarding the new granular activated carbon treatment system that they have at the end of Halava Heights Drive. You'll notice on the image above was actually through using Google Street Map. That's the latest view that we have from June 2011. And then the bottom photo is actually a staff taken photo from October of this year, where the full GAC system is fully installed and looks like it's up and running. And then a little bit more update on the tank cleaning. So far, 4 of the tanks, 5, 6, 7, 8, have undergone sludge removal as well as preps for cleaning. The white tanks are tanks that needs to be further cleaned and with the sludge removed so that it can be prepared for closing. And that concludes my update for this month. Thank you.
Chris, any questions?
I have some questions.
Sure.
So we were scheduled, I thought, for a special board meeting. I believe it was last week, Wednesday. I believe that meeting that was talked about. I know we ended up canceling. Can I get a little bit background, like what happened?
Yeah, sure. I thank you, Member Andaya. This is Ernie, the manager. So the Navy actually, this is a meeting that they arranged at their request. When I saw the initial email, the email was addressed to all 7 board members, all the board members of the Board of Water Supply. And it just appeared to me that it was like inviting the entire board. And because we're required to comply with the state's sunshine laws, if more than 2 board members attends a meeting, that meeting needs to be noticed and it needs to be kind of a public meeting. And because of that, I went back and forth with them, asked them, are you sure you want to do this? Is that your intent? Then I got an email from Rear Admiral Mark Williams saying, oh yeah, go ahead, and it's okay to post the notice on the city clerk's website, which is a normal place where we post notices for meetings that are open to the public, an official meeting of the board. So we proceeded down that road to prepare the notice, and at the last moment, the Navy reconsidered that and said that that was not the intent, that it was really a meeting only among us and the Department of Health, the EPA, and DOH. So they understood that there could not be more than 2 board members attending. And you can see from the photo that Joyce shared that only the board chair attended. I think board members, I think we did send a link where the public could access it to just view the meeting and listen in, but not participate in the meeting actively. Did any of the board members log on and view the meeting? You did, yeah. So it went from, so that was the whole genesis of it becoming a special meeting of the board, because that was the first impression I got from the Navy, and they did not change that position till just a few days before. I think it was like Friday before the meeting that was going to be held the following week. So that's why I canceled it. I apologize to the board members. We did ask you to see if you could attend, and I am grateful that there were actually 4 members that could attend and make it an official meeting. If it was an official meeting, I informed the Admiral it would be here in this boardroom where we are set up to engage with the public and the community and comply with all the statutory requirements of the state's sunshine laws. I guess they didn't want it to be here, and actually wanted the meeting was held at their facility over near the NEX. The meeting started at 9 o'clock. It was supposed to go to 9 to 11:30. I think they spoke and presented PowerPoint slides and spoke from 9 to 10:45, I think. I left about 45 minutes left for questions or discussion. I had to leave for a meeting back here at the mayor's office on the landfill, public press release, press conference. So I had to leave and I think it continued to about 12. In the meeting, the Navy clearly presented a lot of information that was never a part of the original SWARM technical memorandum, which is what our experts reviewed and was all that we had to go on. So they presented a whole bunch of referred to data, laboratory test data, other studies that we're going to now request to get copies of so that we can see if we agree or disagree with their viewpoints. I'll just thank the board chair for attending the meeting. It started off with some very hostile statements. I won't repeat them, but I think by the end of the meeting, we all realized that I think our technical experts really wanted to have more discussion on a very technical level, but it really we need to be looking at the same body of knowledge or information that they are looking at. Or it becomes very difficult to hold a discussion that is more of a one-sided discussion. Chair, would you like to add any observations on the meeting since you were there?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear that the technical nature of this material is just escalating, and I think that's due to the level of specificity and the driving down all the way to the parts per billion of what we're trying to measure for. But it's just to punctuate that last bit, Ernie, is really hard to understand the material when the data is not forthcoming. And when we asked point blank, especially for the data set that appeared in this deck that had never been seen before by anybody outside of the internal engagement, we said, well, can we see the raw data? And they would not say yes. And so we have, I think, a number of challenges that will persist when we're talking about understanding what's going on to these affected water supplies over time, and really not having all the data to encapsulate what occurred at the onset, and then to be able to measure across time what then is occurring later. So that's what I got out of it.
Yeah, and thank you, Chair. If I could add to, I think at the end, when I asked kind of like the bottom line question, did they feel that the 8,000 samples taken for the 2 years under the long-term monitoring plan, which has occurred, water quality testing for petroleum hydrocarbons occurred right after, a few months after the contamination of the water system, after they finished their flushing, they said all 8,000 are still valid. So I still have trouble wrapping my mind around that, because it seems like they're taking contrary positions, but still insisting that all 8,000 tests were valid for petroleum hydrocarbons. So I think hopefully they'll be open to our request for that additional information that they clearly shared at the meeting, but never shared in advance with us. And that we can continue to have this dialogue to understand where they're coming from when they say that all 8,000 tests are still valid. I really want to understand that. I think that's been one of the challenges in working with the Navy and the military, that they complain about us sharing misinformation, but we're really speaking from the information that is available to us, that's available to the public, without the necessity of signing a non-disclosure agreement, something I will continue to resist that effort, because this issue is so important to our community, needs to be completely transparent. So hopefully they can come out and share it. If they're saying that we are spreading misinformation, then show us the information and the data that would change our mind and correct us.
I had Admiral from DC tell me on 2 different occasions, once with congressional staff in the room, saying that the 8,000 tests were going to be cast out.
I think you are, was that the Chief of Naval Operations?
Yeah. Said it to me 2 times, 2 different things.
So, it's this challenge of saying something but not, and then changing to something else, or saying something and then complaining about us, and yet they're withholding a lot of information that could be very important into our position too. So what we need, again, it's the same old request, is complete transparency.
Any other questions, comments? Brian, thank you for your question.
Yeah, I think that if these swarm meetings are gonna be a regular thing, which I hope they do, then yeah, I think if, you know, being able to at least view the meetings would be helpful, in the future. Just so we can get different perspectives of the information. But I
Yeah,
agree with all of that.
Thanks, Brian. I think in the beginning, the meeting was not going to be viewable to the public, but that whole journey that we went through, from the Navy sending the invitation to all board members to your emails, which I was a little surprised they got your emails. I don't know how they did that, but this is the U.S. military. But to the idea that the meeting would be open to be viewed by the public, and there were two public members present. Our friend Susan Piccola Davis was actually there too.
Yep.
In the meeting. So that, I think that's a step in the right direction of being more transparent on these discussions, and we want to encourage more of that behavior. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciated the invitation, at least the initial invitation. And even if we're not able to really be active participants, to be able to view it and hear it would be great.
That's actually a great point, Brian. If you folks on the larger meetings, I mean, every month we come here, there's a long list of meetings that are open. We can also just try to use the secretary's office to coordinate a couple of us attending. I can't attend all the evening meetings, but like I haven't been to any CRI meetings yet. Each one of those, whether it's the fuel tank one or the storm team one or the CRI ones, they're all a little different, and they provide for, I think, like a little deeper dive. So if we want to split up some of that, and maybe that's a request, Joy, to like make sure that for those larger meetings, if you can circulate through the board, if anyone wants to go, and then if we get to 3, then we got a junkin poll or something so that we stay with
Yeah, we don't
sunshine.
get in violation.
Yeah, sunshine violation. But and then also some of these options are where you can peer in but not engage, which means we would.
I would add another meeting, and not to say that we have enough meetings to go to related to.
We have enough meetings.
But there is another one that actually is very important too, because it helps you shed perspective on a larger scale. The Restoration Advisory Board for Pearl Harbor, Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam and Kalailoa.
Yeah.
There was just a meeting last week, which Joyce and I attended. And there's going to be another meeting, I think, in April next year. But that talks about the Pearl Harbor, the whole base as a Superfund site, including the Red Hill facility. So talking about and then it's also going to eventually get over to investigations and remediation of contamination in Kalailoa, which is the former Barbers Point Naval Air Station. But that helps to put everything in perspective of Red Hill. Looking at Red Hill in a very micro level, you could get lost and think this is the only problem or challenge we face for our community, for our INA. When you step back and you look at the discussions on the Restoration Advisory Board, and that's only one component. There's another group that's working on like cleanups of West Lock of Pearl Harbor, which I wasn't aware of until the meeting last week. It is good to understand what has happened to our INA and what is being done to try to investigate and clean it up. And I think the more transparency on this issue, the better for our community. There's also going to be another Restoration Advisory Board created for the Leeward Coast and also Central Oahu. that hasn't met for years, but when it gets started again, we'll be sure to let you know, and we'll start attending those meetings too.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
yeah.
We add also for the December 10th meeting, we have actually recordings of it on our Board of Water website. So you can listen in if you missed the meeting. The Navy Closure Task Force YouTube page also has a recording of that meeting. You'll notice there's some discrepancies, and that's the two different views that you would get if you were a participant versus a public viewer.
Yeah.
Public view, you only have a view of the presentation itself.
Mhm.
Whereas if you're a Zoom member participating in the meeting, you'll actually see who is actually speaking.
Oh, that's helpful.
I just want to make one addition to the, thank you for Joyce for the update. On the temporary water treatment system the Navy is installing at the their IAEA Halawa Shaft, the Navy's IAEA Halawa Shaft. It isn't operational yet, but I think they've submitted a request to the Department of Health, probably the Safe Drinking Water branch, to get authorization to activate their treatment system and start to resupply water to Joint Base Pearl Harbor Hickam, drinking water, treated drinking water.
I was gonna ask you, Joyce, or either of you, we saw this kind of pop up a couple of months ago when we were in conversation, and now hearing that this is like preemptively installed for PFAS. What does that say for what we need to be doing preemptively at the Board of Water Supply based on either what our testing regimen looks like, or, I mean, you know, last part of the conversation was that Navy has more information than we do, but it seems like a lot of effort to be putting in a 12-point GAC preemptively.
12 tank
Yeah.
system. Yeah, they actually EPA and Navy did some joint sampling. I think it was earlier this year, around the middle of the year, and they did have detections of PFAS chemicals. Some of it above the drinking water MCL or standard that the EPA just adopted.
This is the 4 parts per trillion.
Yeah, I think I don't recall exactly the numbers. I think their numbers are like over that. So we are looking at a treatment system for Kalamila wells, GAC type of treatment system too. And that is as a kind of a precautionary measure should the contamination continue to migrate. We already pick up PFAS at Kalamila wells. And will we see PAH chemicals in the future? We don't know. Because we did have a pH detection at IAEA wells, and there was also a pH detection at Navy Monitor Well 24, which is located right near their IAEA Halawa Shaft where they're putting in a treatment system. So just coincidentally, just to clarify to you, when I attended a open house, the last open house that the Navy put on for Red Hill, I did ask a Navy officer, a Navy official, what were they treating for the IAEA Halawa system? And Joyce, I don't know if you were there. They told me TPH and PFAS, but I see that their press release is focused only on PFAS.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah, it might have been someplace else in the room.
okay.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, Joy, anybody online?
No chair, no one is on.
Okay, we have one piece of written testimony. I think Meredith was gonna try to be online, but maybe she's having some difficulty submitting. This just came in. I just got this at the onset of the meeting. So if you folks online don't have this yet from Meredith Wilson, we'll make sure it gets over to you via email as well. But it's about a page and a half of testimony. If she does sign on later, Joy, just flag me down and we will let her engage.
Okay.
And we thank her in advance for the thoughtful testimony.
Chair, could I, just point out one point of her testimony that I can just
Sure.
share with the board for
Sure.
board's information. She referenced in her testimony, this is Meredith Wilson, the newest, for fiscal year 2025, the NDAA or National Defense Authorization Act. This is not the budget, but this is the act that authorizes, I think, where funding could be directed. They have been approved by the House, it passed through the Senate. It needs the Senate signature and then the president. And it's over about $500 million for the Navy. And she indicates for the Navy to construct a water treatment system for Red Hill Shaft. But actually, a little bit more research Kathy Mitchell, our team here did, it was actually 75 million for a water treatment system at Red Hill Shaft. And also that 505 million, 10 million was toward the Kaneohe Marine Corps base, Marine base Hawaii in Kaneohe. And I think that might be related to them trying to improve their wastewater treatment system toward the end of trying to reuse wastewater, recycled wastewater on the base. So that might be part of that cost. So just a clarification. So there is 75 million there for Red Hill Shaft water treatment system, which the Navy did inform us a while back that they were going to pursue that well.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think they also said that they were gonna provide us some of the design spec for what they were building out there.
Haven't received anything yet.
Yeah, okay. I'll follow back up with Megan then. Okay, any other questions? If not, moving on to items for information on number 2, status update of groundwater levels at all index stations. Chair recognizes Barry Usagawa. Hello, Barry. Happy holidays.
Same to you. Mr. Chair, members. So we have 3 aquifer index stations in low groundwater condition as of November. Waialua is in caution. Kaimuki and Punaluu are in alert. So Kaimuki is now out of critical and into the alert. So there was some recovery there. The production has dropped to 134 million gallons per day. The rainfall for November was 80% of normal, and the 5-month moving average is 83. So still below, the normal rainfall that we'd like to see. The drought monitor shows dry conditions still in the central and northern, basically mostly Libra to Oahu. And the National Weather Service is forecasting above normal precipitation through March 2025, although I haven't seen or noticed any big rainfall recently. So I think the December totals may still reflect drier conditions. We'll see what happens in the next 3 months. The monitor wells are exhibiting stable head levels through November, and basically because of the reduced production. And so if we could, maybe I can walk through the rainfall index here. So for the consideration of our new board member, Commissioner, Board Member Pu, the red line is the normal or the normal rainfall for the rain gauges that which is in the Honolulu watershed, and it's fairly indicative of the rainfall island-wide. Well, we do tap into other rain gauges that the National Weather Service reports as well. So anything above the red line is above normal, anything below is below, so below normal in drying conditions. The squiggly line is the 5-month moving average. When that average goes above the red line, we usually have sufficient rains, and head levels in our 14 or so index wells are higher. When they're below we do have our low groundwater conditions of caution, alert, and critical. Okay, and then in terms of the production, so the gray line is our 5-month moving average. The green is 2023, and the blue is 2024. So they're basically tracking The highest month production is usually in August. We certainly, getting into the end of the year, production does go down because the days are shorter. There's usually some rainfall, less irrigation, less demand. So it does go up and down like that, but everything's fairly normal. I'm open to any questions.
Members, any questions? So excited to see that we are out of critical on Kamachi.
Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, the production, our systems ops brought the production down, dropped it by 1 million gallons per day to get it. So because of the demand went down. So
Yeah, appreciate that. Thank you. Okay. Moving on to item for information number 3, water main repair report for November 2024. Chair recognizes Wayne Tello. Hello, Wayne. Happy holidays.
Oh, wait, Meredith,
Oh,
No, we did receive written testimony from Jamie Simic that I will be routing to both.
okay.
It's just written.
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Board Chair and members, and welcome aboard, Cal. I'm Wayne Tello, Acting Program Administrator for Field Operations, Water Main and Leak Detection Report for the month of November. We had 39 main breaks, 18 were leaks, and 21 were breaks. Next slide, please. Next. Okay, leak detection. We had 36 points of interest. We found 53 leaks. 2 were main leaks, 41 were meter coupling leaks, 3 leak on customer side, and 7 service leaks. That completes my report. Any questions?
I'm wondering if, for a good reminder for the established board members as well as for, just to help, get Kehal up to speed, I'm wondering if you guys, between you and Ernie, can talk a little bit about the detection apparatus that you guys are using and how that, fits into preemptive, fixes like what you're talking about here in this last slide.
I can talk to Carol.
Thank you.
I can talk to Carol because I know her from Christmas.
Okay.
we can follow up, or would you like,
Yeah, I mean,
for now, we can try to
Okay.
share now.
Okay, well, for now. Okay.
Yeah.
As far as the, for the leak detection side, well, we pick up everything off the satellite. So whatever is inputted into the GIS for board water supply, we go off of that. And the satellite will pick spots and they come in different color coding. So the red, I think, is the most high impact areas. We go out, then we send out our crews to certain highlighted areas to check for leaks. That's how we go out and that's what we call points of interest. So at times you might have 36 points of interest, but when we go out there, it picks one area, but we come up with more leaks. Like this one, there's only 36 points of interest, but within that one area, we found 53 leaks. 53 leaks.
If I could just add, thank you, Wayne. That's, Wayne has described the kind of the boots on the ground of use of the information. It originates, KHAL, with the satellite doing satellite foot imagery from space, being able to detect chlorinated water on the ground or up to maybe a meter below the ground. And they understand where our water system's located. They identify points of interest, which are, I forget it was, might have been like 300-foot diameter areas in the system that then we send out a leak detection crew to go out with the conventional technology, boots on the ground to actually pinpoint the actual leaks.
Yes.
And they're finding a lot of it in couplings is the meter box itself, maybe the coupling holding the meter is loosened over time and it's leaking there. A service leak could be the pipe leading from the main to the meter, and then the main is found on the main itself. So main breaks are usually something that you don't predict is going to happen. It just happens. But this technology helps us to actually locate it when the main is just maybe a leaking that we can go out and find it before it becomes a catastrophic main break that we're going to talk about a little later today. But so it's been really increased the efficiency of our leak detection team, which is, was it how many people? 5 people?
We just added one more today. We just started one more person, so there's
How many total?
5.
Five people on the leak detection team. Made them that much more efficient. And also made the job more rewarding because the previous way that we survey for leaks was we have 2,100 miles of pipe. Divide that by 3, so you do it in 3 years. So check 700 miles a year, pipes, divine leaks. And that wasn't as effective as this technology. So I want to thank Wayne and the field operations staff keeping up with new technologies. And so thank Barry and the Water Resources Division for helping with the pilot satellite leak detection system. Yeah, that really proved that it was effective. It's about 50-50. So 1 in 2 chances of finding a leak, but that really increased the productivity of our leak detection team. And
How long has it been running, your program? Say imaging.
I would say we're probably in our 3rd year now. I think. What do you think, Barry? In 3 years?
I'm thinking 5, but yeah.
Yeah.
There, that range.
Both.
yeah.
Maybe 5 years.
4 or 5 years.
Would you expect to see like a reduction in main breaks because you're doing this advanced sort of detection, or is that too much to expect?
I think it's a little too much to expect with 2,100 miles of pipe. The average age of the pipes in our system, I think, are now probably in the 50-year range. And it'll be difficult to say that this program has really reduced the number of main breaks. It has, I think, brought it down.
Yes.
Go ahead.
On the leaks, that's what we're finding. Those are the smaller ones that we're detecting, whereas the breaks is what comes in like on the news where maybe some blew up. We find it before.
Wayne, can you bring that? Yeah, thank you. Maybe Wayne, you can explain this. So you got main breaks and you got main repair by type. So a break is how do you define a break on this?
A break is we usually call a break when it kind of like blows up, big hole in the road and everything. So we kind of determine that as a break. Whereas a leak is like when the leak detection pick it up, it's just a wet spot in the road. And then go out there, when we verify, we dig down and we find a small split or some small repairs there. So that's how we detect a leak from the break. The break is when it blows up, and the leak is just a wet spot.
Or kind of proactively kind of repair it before it escalates until the road is lifting up, flooding of homes in the area. I could just my witness to a few breaks in my neighborhood in Manoa too, where it was still a wet spot, a little seepage into the gutter, and the crews were out there repairing it. Still a big hole in the ground because I think in that case the plastic pipe split, longitudinal split, about 13 feet of pipe had to be replaced. But they did it before it became a catastrophic leak. Yeah.
But sort of in concept, the idea is if you detect enough leaks over a long enough period
You
of
might
time,
be able to reduce it slowly
reduce the number of
over.
these catastrophic breaks.
Yeah.
It's just coming about there where we reducing the number of breaks.
This is also, I think, an important time to remind everybody that we're working back towards 1% of pipe replaced every year, so about 21 miles of pipe. If Ray gives us the money to do so every year. I don't think we were working towards that before Red Hill, and then we had to kind of like leave that on the side to address the Red Hill issues. in terms of, I think, both dollars as well as lifting power internally for staff.
Mhm.
But we want to turn our gaze back towards that to make the kind of the best, most useful 21 miles every year of changing out that pipe based on where the breaks are, right? Based on where the oldest pipe is and all that. But that's a considerable, it's like hundreds of millions of dollars every year to be able to do that. But that's one of the priorities I think we're gonna get back on as we go on. I think one of, like, the good thing that came out of Red Hill is like a better understanding of what some of the federal programs are that will allow us to help to do that without having the ratepayer bear the full brunt of that cost. So Ray's office is working with some of those guys to look at the whole suite of how we can get those dollars, some of those dollars available through existing programs that we've had access to, as well as new programs that might be new.
I just want to point out that the fact that we're not doing 21 miles or not continuing that effort temporarily, it's not Ray's fault.
No, not at all. Not at all.
No, but you know, we have to balance affordability and safe and dependable water service. So when other priorities come up, we have to be able to shift gears a little while and then go back on track. Yeah, and that's the long-term goal. So we are in the midst of starting the update of our water master plan, our 30-year plan. So the board's input is going to be very valuable. The community's input in that plan on how to get us back to those priorities of the past. Yeah.
Yeah, agree.
Yeah, and how much it's going to cost. So, yeah, it'll tell us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, Wade, thank you so much for your time.
Okay.
Thank you for all the hard work.
Thanks,
Gee,
Holidays to all of you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our regular session. We do have to go into executive session. I would entertain a motion to that effect with a 5-minute break tagged onto that as well. Do I hear a motion to?
Second.
It's been moved by John and seconded by Lance. All in favor, say aye. All
Aye.
opposed? Hearing none. 5-minute break and in the executive session. Thank you. So now we're back in regular session. Do you have a motion to adjourn?
I make that motion.
It has been moved by Lance and seconded by John. All in favor of closing out the 2024 board meeting agenda for the year, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, nay. Hearing none, we are adjourned.